The mind is a very complex part of man's nature. For mankind, the workings of their minds have been something that has both perplexed and fascinated them for so many years. The mysteries of the mind have been explored by philosophers, psychologists, and scientists. The general belief is that our behavior and actions are influenced by the human mind. So, a lot of research has been done to understand how people react in this sort of way before taking any action. There have been some attempts to study human thought, concentrating on the brain. These studies focus on how information is acquired, processed, interpreted, and stored, with a view to the physical aspects of the brain. Essentially, they're trying to find out more about how the brain can influence a person's reasoning. It is studies like these have paved the way for progress in managing debilitating conditions like Alzheimer's, perception difficulties, and even memory loss. Psychology is the more familiar part of studying an individual's mind. We've consulted a psychologist at some point in our lives, or we've known someone who's had to consult a psychologist to deal with our more difficult emotions. Life experiences often make us uncomfortable in ways we cannot change by ourselves. Sometimes, the breakdown is a result of certain biological markers we inherited from our parents. Emotions like depression, anxiety, and fear darken our daily experiences, making it difficult to thrive. We can protect ourselves from the darkness within with a combination of medicines and therapy. What's the darkness in others? Everyone's got the ability to do good. We're also capable of great evil. Beneath emotions like sadness, depression, joy, and happiness is a deep-seated desire that can lead us to deliberately harm others if those urges are not brought under control. More primitive instincts, such as our flight or the fight response that helps us survive, are behind these darker desires. Sometimes, the human response to these dark emotions is justified only by one word: evil. Dark psychology studies the human condition to the psychological nature of human beings who prey on others. In lay terms, dark psychology explores that aspect of human nature that allows us to deliberately and willfully take actions that bring harm to our fellow humans. Mind you, the use of prey in this context does not necessarily translate into the physical harming of a person, although there is a branch of dark psychology that is dedicated entirely to this. To gain a better understanding of the subject, we'll discuss briefly these areas during other chapters. You might have found words or phrases referring to the dark within in films and books. This has been mentioned by some of the most famous philosophers. The revered book of the Christians talks about how the heart of man is desperately wicked. We have all encountered that one individual who we have described as exceptionally calm or reserved in social settings, only for this same individual to perpetrate an act so devious that we find it difficult to associate that act with this individual in question. We're that individual sometimes. It's not completely surprising, though it might seem to you. The response to external situations is only triggered in these cases. The pot was stirred, so to speak, and those dark emotions that hid beneath simmered to the surface. Once control has been exercised, they tend to disappear. Everyone has a latent tendency, if the right buttons are pushed, to be some kind of bad guy or just simply evil. But these grim emotions are fully in the hands of some others. They're nurturing them, feeding them, and when they're serving their purpose, they're deliberately releasing them at the expense of others. Sometimes it's only at an early age that these emotions are developed. A child learns that if he or she cries in a certain way, the adults in their lives rush to do their bidding. If the parents do not impress on the child early enough the wrongness of this, the child grows up thinking people in their lives can be manipulated into doing their bidding. As they grow, the cry will cease to be a weapon, but they will continue to manipulate it. Where they don't use tears, they use emotions to blackmail their victims. So, what started as an innocent childish behavior becomes a dark need to control. The intensity of their actions would be determined by how far this individual was willing to go to exert his influence. It's the thought process of a person like this that dark psychology deals with. It seeks to understand the motive behind these actions, the patterns exhibited from before these acts are carried out to after, and throws more light on how a person can willfully see those actions to a conclusion, knowing the hurt and pain it might cause to another individual. The dark side of man's nature is illuminated by dark psychology.
I'm about to go off like a weapon, fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession, I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex, haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test.